On today's show, the guys talk with Bobby Lockhart of Important Little Games about his new educational coding game, Codemancer, and its use in formal education. There's a special East Conference update and more next on EduTechGuys. EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on this site and its programs are those of the participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to this episode of EduTechGuys Radio. I'm David Henderson.
Hey, and I'm Jeff Madlock.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. We've got a really cool episode ahead for you, talking with Bobby Lockhart of Important Little Games and his game that is using fantasy elements in order to convey coding, and it's really cool.
Through casting spells and stuff. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be neat.
Hey, don't forget to check us out on the web. Go to www.edutechguys.com, and you can actually scroll down to the bottom and find a contact form there. Heck, if you just go out to Google, type in EduTechGuys, you're going to find us on the web, because we're always out there lurking.
Yes, we are.
Hey, that's you right. Kids want to learn about some ed tech. So, yeah.
Every breath you
there you go. But yeah, it's going to be a great show today. We are almost to spring break, so and we're almost to the East Conference, and today's kind of a special East Conference show.
Yeah,
we have a special East Conference update that David and I are going to do today.
Yeah, so we're actually going to do that.
Enjoy that. Give you a little history of the East Conference and tell you where we're going to be next week for 3 days in Hot Springs.
Yeah,
but yeah, wonderful. So hey, what do you say we jump out to the interview?
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. And right now we've got a very special guest with us here on the show. We're going to let him introduce himself, talk about who he's with, where he's from, all that good stuff. So welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm Bobby Lockhart. I'm a independent video game designer and currently working on an educational game called Codemancer.
Oh, nice.
Cool. It's a fantasy game where you play as a little girl who has to learn magic to rescue her father. It's been kidnapped by an evil sorcerer.
Okay.
But the way that magic works in the game is the way that programming works in our world. So as she writes spells, the spells are actually programs, and when she casts them, she runs them. And you learn a ton about programming sort of stealthily by playing the game. That
sounds very cool. So I'm gonna start with I'm gonna see if we can pull out some background information. Do you have an education background, or this just something that grabbed your interest?
I mean, my father's a teacher, and I guess I have a bad habit of just really loving whatever my dad is doing.
That's not a bad habit.
No,
well,
not a bad
I guess
habit.
It could be a bad habit. Depends on what your dad's doing.
Well, he was making independent movies for a while, and then I went to film school.
Yeah.
And then got seduced by computers and math, and then figured out that there was sort of a good halfway point at video games.
Sure.
And then he started being a teacher. He's trained as an attorney, but always did entertainment law and produced plays and wrote plays, and he's still a playwright, but his day job is literature teacher. So I wanted to learn more about that, and read a bunch of stuff, and I had a unique education of my own, especially regarding computers, because I had a first grade computer teacher named Mr. Costa, and I don't know where he is right now, but he was at Hawthorne Elementary School. In first grade, he taught us Logo. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
We predate turtle. Logo, so we're familiar.
And there was it was just me and one other kid really got into Logo, and everyone else kind of did nothing
Yeah.
during that class. So the next year he was gone, and computer class was like word processing.
Oh yeah.
And it just like, yeah, I felt like we lost a lot when we lost Mr. Costa, because
Sure.
he really knew his stuff in terms of teaching computers and computer science and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't use Logo again until much later. I was working on Wolfram Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
which is the question answering website.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it occurred to me that we could implement Logo inside Wolfram Alpha, which you can access now if you type like logo forward 15 right 10 or whatever. Like, go ahead and type some Logo commands into Wolfram Alpha with Logo in the front of it, and you'll see a little turtle, and you'll get to play around with that.
Cool.
And it got me thinking, like, what if this was, instead of a creative tool, what if it was more of a game? Because I was thinking about all those kids who got nothing out of Logo
Mm-hmm.
when I was in first grade. And why was that? And I think it was because they were sort of scared by the blank canvas.
Sure.
And so what if it was sort of a set of challenges instead of just a free-form creation tool? And that's what got me started on the design process for
Yeah.
Codemancer.
Cool. So your background in coding and entertainment and stuff like that, how did that help you, realize this is a build Codemancer? How did they, where did that come? It came from that, didn't it? I mean, you went, hey, this is what's selling and this is what kids like. And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I didn't think a lot about what was selling or what
Oh, really?
Yeah.
what kids liked. I mean, it took me a while to get to being a competent game designer at all. It's I feel like there's almost nothing that can be taught about it except to practice.
Right.
So I embarked on this thing, and when I first started, it was called Tank Hacker,
Okay.
and it was like you were giving commands to a tank, and it was like going around a free-form world, just very much closer to Logo than Codemancer currently is.
Okay.
I sort of grew to realize that this was more for my kind of kid, the kid that already gets a lot out of Logo. People who like, the word hacker,
Right.
and like tanks, and the whole technology archetypes are already going to learn programming, so they don't really need a game. So that's when I brainstormed for a long, long time, and then came up with a fantasy setting and spell casting. And then I did a ton of research reading young adult fiction, like novels like, Harry Potter and His Dark Materials and Sabriel, and just a million great books, that the Mistborn series, like all these narratives about young kids learning magic. And was inspired a lot by that.
That's cool.
Well, I think it's really cool that your main character is female. That there's a big push in getting more girls interested in coding and STEM and computer science, and even with that kind of, if you took that and even set that aside, there just, at least in my experience, there aren't a lot of games out there where you get to play as a female character.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly the case when I started working on Codemancer. And that was 4 years ago, roughly, when I started in earnest. And I think that has been mitigated quite a lot in that time. Like, if you've played any of the Code.org games, it's like Rey from Star Wars and Elsa from Frozen are your main characters, and you're coding your way through the world in those games. And there are all kinds of STEM for Girls organizations popping up, and it's really great to see that wave is like cresting now, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you brought up code.org, is that one of your, and I don't even know if this is a possibility as a goal, quote unquote goal, is that one of your goals to hope to get that into code.org, or are you looking more to offer this up in terms of I don't know, like retail sales, or how are you trying? What are you doing to get the word out about it and get more folks to bring it into their life, whether it's curriculum through schools or whether it's just folks surfing around and go, hey, this is pretty cool.
Well, that's what I'm here for, you guys.
Touche. There you go.
Code.org is definitely like inspiring to me. I would love to get a demo on there. I think my main, the thing that I can sort of do by myself is get it into the app stores and Steam.
Sure.
And so for like informal learning spaces. Hopefully savvy guardians, moms, dads, whoever will see that and see that it's maybe a little higher quality than other games, and it has a narrative and all this other stuff that a lot of these coding games don't have.
Let's talk about that right there. Let's talk about that right there. Let's talk about what you find makes a good educational game, and I'm just quoting you now, and how educational games fit into a formal learning environment. I mean, tell us.
Yeah, well,
what you think
I feel like
is.
that's a dialogue that I wanted to have with you guys as teacher.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone sort of acknowledges now that teachers should be the guide on the side and not the sage on the stage.
Yeah.
I think that educational games give a good sort of opportunity for having the teacher perform the role of a coach, really.
Yeah.
Just like encouragement and tips and all the stuff that coaches do for sports, teachers can do for like more intellectual stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And I just listening to your podcasts, I mean, I know you guys are way into authentic challenges, and video games are never going to be authentic, except maybe like citizen science games, in that they don't really have an impact on the world. Nobody, the world is not going to change because you beat a video game.
Right.
But I think it's the next best thing because it's very significant within this virtual world. In fact, it's like often the most significant thing that happens in this virtual world is whatever the player is doing.
Sure. Yeah. I think you hit a good point right there. And I think that when I think of a good educational piece, whatever it is, if it's a game or if it's woodworking or whatever it is it how many sharp edges does it have? How many points does it have? Where can I take it besides where it's intentionally designed to go? And how is it going to enhance the educational process in my classroom, where I can take Codemancer and we can talk about strong female role models, not just talking about coding. We can talk about good versus evil. We can talk about fitting into society and being helpful to a society in that virtual world, and how do we apply that to our own lives and being good stewards of education or business or things like that. So, I'm always looking for what's the multifaceted, because a teacher becoming that guide on the side also means that I'm there with more opportunities to become a good guide. I'm not just teaching math, and I'm not just teaching coding. I'm teaching life skills, and that's where a good game comes into play. Like, how can it provide that? Also, and that's what we're seeing. Absolutely. That's what we're seeing happening with these games. I mean, it's a secondary thought. I'm going to have a female lead character, but no, it's a huge deal. It really is, because now you just empowered the girls in the classroom and the young ladies in the high school classroom or whoever's playing it to go, wow.
Research has shown that game players male game players do not care as much about the gender of their avatar,
Right.
and females like to play as a female if possible.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just like making everyone happy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And there's the kicker with educational gaming is finding the way to get it into formal learning. How do I apply it across the board? And so let's talk about Codemancer. We're talking across the board. It can be played anywhere because the narrative itself is a great narrative to write off of as a writing prompt in itself. I mean, think about it. Let's go home. Here's Codemancer. Go home and play this game and come back. And here's the writing prompts that I'm gonna hit you with. And I'm ready to let you take this narrative, and we're writing fan fiction for Codemancer at this point. And so you see, it can fit into lots of genres.
One of the Kickstarter rewards from Codemancer was a novel, and actually it was written by this woman Cassandra Kaw, who's like an amazing author, and was actually just started getting into fiction at the time, but is now sort of blowing up in the world of what would you call it, like weird occult horror fiction.
Yeah.
But she wrote basically a young adult novel about the world of Codemancer. It's not the same characters as the ones in the game. It's a different part of the world.
Sure.
But the magic system and the way sort of society is organized are the same. And so there has been some professional fan fiction already.
That's really
That's
cool.
awesome.
And
Man.
I'll be releasing that after the first chapter of the game.
That's cool. So let's
cool.
talk about the game. So interactions in the game. I know you're always battling evil. You're casting spells, but are there social elements inside the game? Do you build a group? You build a team? You make friends?
Yeah, you don't really build a team, but you do. You encounter a set of people that you are trying to sort of get information out of. You're trying to get them to become your teacher. And they're various prickly characters, and they have different feelings about how, why they would teach you, or like what consequences that would have and what relationship they have to you. So, there's like a old sea captain who's kind of a nice guy that you meet early on, and then there's a wizard, like a very archetypical wizard person who's very reticent about teaching you because you're a little girl and because he can't spare the time, but he turns out to be just like frustrated by your stumbling around. Okay. and steps in basically to just because he can't stand to see someone doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But then eventually you gain his respect, and then you're forced to move on, and later you'll meet like a love interest, and
that's cool.
You sort of every chapter you grow up a little, and it's instead of leveling up, you're growing up.
Yeah.
That's very cool though.
The avatar gets bigger and more mature looking, and so does your familiar that you ride on through the game. You've got this animal familiar companion with you all the time that only you can hear talking.
That's cool.
That's very cool. So in terms of some of the gameplay, you talked about different choices you make, that kind of thing. So do those within each chapter, do those choices affect the game?
Really, it's very linear, except for that you have a central choice at the very beginning, which is which familiar to pick. So you've got three choices: Macro Cat, a Hyperhound, and crud, I can't remember the species name of the bird character. Because you only see the species name at the very beginning, and then they go by their actual names.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I have a question about this. So where do you see the application in education of this game? I mean, where would we apply this game in a course curriculum? So I think about most schools are not, they've still got a math class and an English class and things like that. Where could you see this game being applied and used in formal education?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first of all, there is starting to be more computer and computer science classes, even for my age range, which is 6 to 12-year-olds. And I think that's really the most natural place for it to live,
Sure.
if possible.
Yeah.
Math is also a possibility because algorithms, well, there's some debate about this, but I think that programming is actually a bigger thing that math is a small part of.
Yes. Yes. I would concur.
But you could think of it the other way around, and yeah. So, but I've tried very hard to make the game not mathy.
Right.
The numbers don't use the Arabic symbols; they use little pips like on a die, and they only go up to 5. So all the arithmetic is mod 6, which means and the game takes place on a hexagonal grid. So the fact that things go from 0 to 5 all kind of makes sense for that.
Yeah, that's and I love how how you tie that together. I don't know in the game if that is something that is made blatantly obvious to the player, or if that's one of those things that you kind of hope the players pick up on as they're playing through the game, making those correlations. Like, look, all the squares, all the spaces are hex, and everything else is 0, 5, and we're building on that premise of, I mean, really, it's the hex factor, which actually that in itself probably has its own connotations in the
hex
game.
factor,
Yeah,
in the game, man, you're right.
It's a great name for a reality show.
Yeah, right. The hex factor.
It's like a talent show for magicians.
I think we'd be sued. Yeah.
The hex factor.
But yeah, no, I think that's just sort of. I'm hoping that's just sort of subtle world building stuff that maybe someone will subconsciously register that the numbers go 0 to 5, and there are 5 pages on your tablet, and there's all kinds of. I'm sorry, there are 6 pages, 0 to 5 again. So there's 6s everywhere. In the game.
That's
Awesome.
pretty cool. That's very cool.
So let's say, people want to find it. People want to get a hold of it. What do they do? How do they find it?
Right now, the simplest thing would be to sign up for the mailing list on codemancergame.com.
Okay.
You can pre-order game on the Humble store.
Okay.
So
cool.
I don't know if you're familiar with like Humble bundles and things. And it'll be out very soon. And then hopefully I will shout it to the heavens, and and they'll be able to buy it and immediately that immediate gratification.
Jump into it. Yeah,
absolutely. I noticed on the Codemancer site there's a slideshow of different just still images from the game. Are you planning on doing any kind of a preliminary gameplay video?
Yeah, so I have a trailer already cut and ready to go, and I'm just sort of figuring out when can I release it that nothing else is happening, so that it'll be the only thing in the news cycle or whatever for educational games.
Yeah, that's a hard one, by the way.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I will send
good
it
luck.
But send it to us. We'll gladly share it out.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. And so are you planning on releasing just the full game when it's ready? Are you doing kind of a Steam early access kind of thing? What's your release mechanism?
Well, yeah, the game got kickstarted 4 years ago, so I've been sending out beta builds to my backers for that.
Oh, okay.
This whole time. So yeah, it's broken up into 3 chapters. So and I'll be basically just releasing them a chapter at a time with like a fun thing in between. So the book will be in between chapters 1 and 2, and between 2 and 3 will be a level editor, so people can build their own Codemancer levels.
Oh, that is so cool.
And I have an idea for another thing, but I don't want to say it because
save it. That's another show.
I don't want it to be a promise. But so they'll just come out chapter by chapter and platform by platform. So probably starting in a few months, I will be in constant game release mode. So I'll be like releasing chapter 1 on this platform, and chapter 2 will just come out for the first time. And
Sure.
it's going to be a busy year.
Yeah, man, that's going to be awesome though. So is it? I know it just says coming soon. You can't open that can of worms, can you?
I don't have a release date yet.
That's
All
cool.
right, man.
That's cool. When you get it, let us know, and when you decide that date, we'll push it at the same time. Because
Awesome.
big push, big cool push.
Yeah, you may or may not know this. I'm a YouTube gamer, so I'm looking forward to getting a hold of this and being able to share that out with my subscribers. So I think that'll be very
fantastic.
cool.
Yeah, I will
That'd be
gladly
really
send
awesome.
you a build whenever you like.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
So, folks want to get in touch with you or follow you on Twitter. Give them some information: the website, Twitter, social media, the whole bit.
Sure. So again, the game's website is codemancergame.com. My company is Important Little Games, importantlittlegames.com. It's great if you have really long things because the chances of somebody else having that domain are very slim.
Very slim.
Myself, I am known on the interwebs as Bobby Locks with an X. So that's on bobbylocks.com or on Twitter, Bobby Locks.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
I
Very
tweet
cool.
a lot.
Awesome. Well,
Good.
Most of it is not about educational games.
That's cool.
That's okay, man.
That's cool. Hey, we want to thank you for coming on the show.
Oh,
And
my pleasure.
We
Thank you
definitely
so
got to
much
keep
for
the
having me.
relationship open because we want to know what's going on and everything like that. And
You're too kind.
we'll help push out as much as we can and as fast as we can. It's all for a good cause. Yep.
I'm speechless. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, and when you get closer to release time, we want to have you back on as part of that. I'm going to use the word release party, but whatever you want to call that, we would love to be a part of celebrating the fact that you.
Bump.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean,
Be fun.
really, however we can share out the word and spread the word. I think it's awesome what you're doing to help students get interested in coding, and by intention or accident, the fact that you're incorporating girls into this mix, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah, tremendously.
Hey, it's been great to talk to Bobby Lockhart and talk about Codemancer and Important Little Games and what he's doing there for coding and getting kids excited about coding in the educational arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what other things they come up with down the line. I'm really curious to see what other games they come up with, whether it's education and coding related or not, just in general.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Really neat game.
Yeah.
Check them out on Kickstarter. Find them on the web. Hey, right now we have a very, very special opportunity for us. Spencer and the gang are really busy preparing for the East Conference. So David and I are going to take the role of doing the East Initiative update this week, but it's going to be the East Initiative conference update. So let's take a listen to it. We'll be right back after this. Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
And this is the East Initiative Conference Update.
The idea of having a year-end conference goes back to the earliest days of the East program. While Tim Stevenson, the founder of the program, was still teaching in the classroom at Greenbrier High School, he wanted his students to have the experience of attending a professional conference. Plus, he wanted to demonstrate to some of East's earliest supporters that their investment was yielding results. So the East Conference was born in 2000, before the nonprofit organization was formed. Now, by that time, several schools were participating in the East program, which was coordinated out of an educational cooperative in Arkansas. The experience of the early travels to out-of-state professional conferences in 1998 and 1999 planted the idea of bringing all of the East schools together for a conference that East could call its own.
By 2004, students began to take a role not only as the stars of the conference, but also assisting as volunteers to support the East staff, working to make that event run smoothly. A group of photographers and videographers were selected to help record the event, the very first documentation team, which has since grown to encompass social media and live stream coverage. The following year, another group of students were selected to help with event logistics, like helping schools register on site and showing them where to go, a role that had been previously filled by the National Demonstration Team, students who at the time traveled the country to show off the benefits of the East program. This new group were the first official ambassador team. By 2007, the event had grown far larger than the East technical team of 6 could help efficiently. So a third group of students were added to help troubleshoot technology issues on site. With the addition of this technical support team, the 3 teams collectively were dubbed the Student Leadership Team, which has become an integral part of the conference. Originally required to attend a brief training session just before the conference opened, this team is now required to attend a 2-day training and team building retreat, which is held February at the 4-H Center in Ferndale. In that 2006 gap year between the addition of the ambassadors and technical support, another important change was made to the East Conference. It was moved from the State House Convention Center in downtown Little Rock to the Hot Springs Convention Center, where it has been held for the last 12 years.
Now, in its 19th year, the East Conference will include nearly 240 schools, from elementary schools to university programs, from 4 states, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania. More than 4,000 students, educators, and guests will attend some part of the event, and all of the large group sessions and many of the activities will be live streamed to the world.
Hey, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that East Conference History Update Program special.
Yeah, man. Special thanks to Spencer with East for sending us
information.
Yeah, hooking us up with the information. And hope you guys enjoyed that history of what the East Conference is all about, because that is where we are going to be next week. You know, they were talking about live streaming it, and for the first time, it'll also be broadcast live through EduTechGuys podcast. So we'll be there doing live coverage with. I truly had no idea that there were going to be 4,000 people there. This is huge.
It's massive.
I truly had no idea.
Yeah, I'm actually a little nervous about it because it's a lot of kids.
That is a lot of kids.
But yeah, I work well with kids.
All right, well, you know what? And what's going to really be cool is they're going to get the chance to sit down and share their particular East story with us, but more importantly, with you guys as listeners. So you definitely want to tune in for that next week.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great time. Tyler, that guy, will be there with us. And or is it that guy or this guy?
This guy.
I get them all.
Is it this Tyler?
He's that guy. No, he's this guy.
I don't know. Anyway,
Tyler's going to be there with us. And
right.
Each night we'll cut up like we did before, and we'll drop them out as quick as we can.
Yeah.
So you can listen to them on the conference coverage site.
Yeah.
Which is, if you want to visit that site, drop out to iTunes or just look up on Pippa. You can find the EduTechGuys conference coverage. You can find it on iTunes really easy.
Yeah.
Also, coming up, besides the East Conference, March the 13th to the 15th, you can also find us at
Springdale. We're going to be at the Innovation Institute again this year in Springdale, Arkansas. That's going to be June 6th and 7th.
And then HISTE, the Hot Springs Technology Institute in Hot Springs, June 20th and 21st.
That's right. And then we are looking forward to Flipgrid Live 2018, and that is at the end of July into early August in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
And we're still cooking and working on some other stuff, but we should be at ISTE. We're just going to be there. You're going to see us walking around and find us. You won't miss us. We'll have a couple of elephants that say EduTechGuys on the side of them. We'll be riding them, handing out peanuts. No, we'll just be
That's
there.
just us walking around.
That's right. That's just me. David leading an elephant around. That elephant's Jeff, by the way. That elephant looks funny. He's got red hair. But yeah, we'll be there. And we're also kind of in the works to look at Podstock. We're trying to see how that one's going to work out for us at this point. So just make sure you check the website, www.edutechguys.com. Follow us on Twitter. You'll find out where we're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Hey, it's been a great show.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
We'll catch you next time.
You've been listening to EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on this site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.